Good afternoon to all our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We're happy to welcome all those who are listening on radio via WeFM, Vibes FM, Spice Capital Radio. We've got 100.5 FM out of Labby in Grenville. We've got Ride Along out of Brooklyn, New York. Of course, the NDC Facebook online platform, and we're also on YouTube. So, welcome to another Heartbeat episode this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Now, what we're going to be doing for you today is to share with you, because this is a popular request, you want to see again the opening ceremony recently held in Grenada of ACTIV, which is African Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum 2025. Grenada has done it again. So stay tuned. We'll be showing you excerpts of the ACTIV conference or summit, forum, call it what you wish, but it was absolutely fantastic. So stay with us, coming up in a moment.
The Grenada Cultural Festival Group invites you to the 17th Annual Grenada Karakou and Petit Madning Day. Bring the whole family out to celebrate and experience the culture with live performances from Grenadian artists, crafts and food on sale. Sunday, August 17th, 2025. All boys and girls field 777 Rutland Road, Brooklyn, New York. From 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Performing live, Loverman, Slaughter, Skinny Button, Westways, King Blake, Angel Joseph, and so many more. Special performances by Quick USA, the Greenhouse Drummers, the Big Drum Dancers, Spice Generation Dance Company, and Jab Jab Family. Featuring from Grenada Conception Dance Theatre. There would be lots of activities for the kids, bouncy castle, face painting, and so much more. Your MC, Big Plums. Get your tickets online, GrenadaDay2025.eventbrite.com. It's Grenada Day 2025, Sunday, August 17. This event is sponsored by Ariza Credit Union, Grenada Cooperative Bank, National Lottery Association, Apple Bank, Williams Funeral Services, Allstate Insurance, La Bay Market, the Coldpot Bar and Grill, New Radio Digital, and Crossroad Radio. Come out and celebrate the culture, rain or shine. This activity is not sponsored or supported by NYC or the Department of Education.
Summer is here, and so is the search for Grenada's next big talent. The Grenada Office of Creative Affairs presents Sing Grenada, a youth-powered program spotlighting the next generation of musical talent.
We're looking for young stars from every corner of the island. Whether you sing, play an instrument, or create beats, this is your moment.
Show Grenada and the world what you've got. Submit a 1-minute video to singgrenada@gmail.com or click the link in our bio to register. Please state your name, your age, what school you attend, and you must be 19 and under to apply.
Your voice, your sound, your story. This is Sing Grenada, where talent takes center stage.
Climate change doesn't adhere to a specific time frame. It fuels multiple hazard events, from hurricanes and flooding to heat waves and landslides. These events may occur back-to-back or simultaneously, creating compounded risks for our communities. Preparedness must go beyond one season or one threat. Preparedness must be year-round and multi-hazard focused. Preparedness is resilience. Preparedness begins with you.
A message from the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA.
Afreximbank continues to champion the economic transformation of global Africa, supporting youth engagement through Caribbean internship programs that foster cultural and economic ties. As we continue to ignite the flame of ACTIV 2025, it is my honor to welcome our first keynote speaker, a visionary leader whose leadership has shaped the path of regional and international cooperation. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in giving a warm welcome to Professor Benedict Oramah, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the African Export-Import Bank.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Your Excellency, the Governor General of Grenada, the Honorable Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, our host, Honorable Prime Ministers, Your Excellencies, former President Obasanjo and Yusufu, the Honorable former Prime Minister of Jamaica, P.J. Patterson, Your Excellency, Carla Burnett, the Secretary General of the CARICOM Secretariat, Your Excellency, Ms. Emma Haddadi, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Wankele Mene, the Secretary General of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, may I humbly request to stand on the very well-established protocol earlier this morning. During the last week of June, about 8,000 people, mostly from continental Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider global Africa, assembled in Abuja, Nigeria, to attend the 32nd annual meeting of the Afreximbank Group. They used the occasion to reflect on the place of the people of African descent and the global South in the rapidly evolving and hostile New World Order. There was a convergence of views that in a fragmented and crisis-ridden world, the best pathway forward for Africans and the global South was through the pursuit of collective self-reliance, with our institutions leading the way. I seize this unique opportunity to extend our profound gratitude to member states of the CARICOM for the strong support and visibility at the Abuja event. Special thanks to Honorable Prime Ministers Deacon Mitchell, Philip Davis, Dr. Terence Michael Drew. We also like to thank Her Excellency Secretary General Carla Burnett, the Honorable P.J. Patterson, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Daniel Best, President of the Caribbean Development Bank, Mr. Rodinard Suma, the CEO of the Caribbean Development Fund, as well as the high-powered delegation of public officials and corporate leaders from the Caribbean who joined us on that occasion. I was particularly delighted and highly honored as that event marked my last Afreximbank Group annual meetings as the president and chairman of the board of directors of the bank. Today, about a month from that event, many from the continent have crossed the Atlantic to assemble here in St. George's, not only to deepen the roots of the seed we planted 3 years ago in Barbados, but also to put more flesh on the skeleton of the consensus we began to form in Abuja. Honorable Prime Ministers, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our gathering here is not ephemeral, but rather rooted in centuries of shared history and ancestry. Here in Grenada, we find traces of the tribes of Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Ghana. Interestingly, the Akan folklore, which tells the story of Anansi, the spider, is also told here in Grenada. These realities remind us constantly that despite the distance and many years of separation, the cultural ties and shared economic interests run deep and inerasable. Grenada provides the calm and serene environment required to concentrate our minds on the important issues that confront us today as a people. It is on that note that I welcome you all to the 4th Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. We are deeply grateful to our dear brother and chief host, the Honorable Prime Minister, Deko Michel, for his bold leadership in agreeing to host this event. We are thankful to him, his government, and the people of Grenada, and also the Governor General, for the warm hospitality we have received since arriving here in St. George's. I'm sure I speak for all of us from the motherland when I say that we feel totally at home here in St. George's. Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this year's forum is significant to me personally, as it marks the last time I will be addressing you on this platform as President of Afreximbank. It therefore affords me the opportunity to review the progress we've made since we collectively decided to turn the iniquities of the Middle Passage into a shared engine of prosperity built by us and for us. In October 2021, when I visited our dear sister, Honorable Prime Minister Mia Motley in Barbados, to discuss the necessity of moving away from political declarations, sloganeering, and motivating songs into concrete action towards realizing the long-held aspiration of strengthening Africa-Caribbean trade and investment ties. I left Barbados totally convinced that the key to unlocking that door, jammed for decades, had finally been found. And as I subsequently traveled and engaged across CARICOM states, from Grenada to Guyana, St. Lucia to St. Kitts and Dominica states, from Dominica, Bermuda, Belize to and Jamaica to Suriname, I found replicas of the same key, all tuned to the same goal. That is why we've made so much progress within such a very short period. Your Excellencies, Honorable Prime Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in just over 3 years, our partnership has yielded tangible historical results. With Jamaica having signed the partnership agreement a few weeks ago, 13 of the 14 independent CARICOM member states are participating in the partnership agreement amongst themselves and between them and Afreximbank. 11 of these states have ratified the agreement, providing the bank a solid legal foundation to operate, support, and invest in their economies. This is not merely a bureaucratic milestone. It is a sovereign declaration that the CARICOM states see in Africa not just their past, but also their future. Besides, we've established a fully functional regional office in Barbados, staffed by committed professionals drawn from Africa and this region, and implementing a growing pipeline of deals. But we did not stop there. We are building the Afreximbank Africa Trade Center in Bridgetown, an almost $200 million architectural symbol of the bank's deep and unshakable commitment to the Caribbean. With Twin Towers, this center would host innovation labs, digital trade platforms, SME incubation center, a world-class hotel, as well as conferencing and training facilities. All designed to make the center a hub for Africa-Caribbean trade and investments, bridging the information and financing gap that currently stand in the way we do business. So in less than 3 years from now, Afrexim Bank flag will be hoisted high above the skies of Barbados and the Caribbean. Reminding us of our beloved Pan-African brave heroes, Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Bob Marley, and the clarion call in our anthem that we must fight for the now and posterity. These notable steps are yielding significant results that touch the lives of our people in various ways. To date, our approved financing limit to the Caribbean has increased to $3 billion US, following the recent accession of Jamaica to the partnership agreement. This in the pipeline presently amount to over $2.5 billion across various strategic sectors. And we have approved already slightly over $700 million in just 2 years. Here in Grenada, we are co-financing a world-class tertiary hospital, estimated at the cost of about $250 million. Which we hope will convert the country into a regional hub for medical tourism. Also in Grenada, we are also financing investments by Orascom Group in the luxury tourism, directly boosting Africa-Caribbean investments while supporting improvements in tourism infrastructure in the country. In St. Lucia, we are helping to rebuild schools destroyed by climate events, thereby easing learning conditions for young school children. In the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, we are enabling SME development, road infrastructure, and a permanent exhibition center through multiple transactions amounting to about $500 million in aggregate. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we've unlocked trade finance support through local banks. In Suriname, Afrexim Bank is the coordinator and the mandated lead arranger of the $1.7 billion facility for the state oil company Start Soli, which will be used to acquire 20% interest in the Grand Mogul offshore oil field being operated by Total SA. Afrexim Bank is contributing an amount of $500 million in the deal and expects to be an oil lifter through its trading subsidiary called Admin, which will enable the sale of the crude to refineries in Nigeria and Angola, also financed by Afrexim Bank. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to be deliberate about all these things. These are not the times you use your resources and say you are doing tender. If you want to promote trade, you prefer your people. Because we are talking about air links. It is when we ship crude from Guyana to Nigeria, Angola, and ship refined products back that we can see movement of people. And we will not need to beg for airlines to fly. They will follow the money. In Barbados, Afrexim Bank financed the redevelopment of a sports facility that will also double as an arena for hosting creative events. The bank is also currently considering deals worth about $400 million across various sectors of the Barbadian economy. Honorable Prime Ministers, Your Excellencies, we must shift from the era where our commodities build economies other than ourselves. We are the only people who trade commodities, but those who trade them are others and not us. In this regard, our President Bank is proactively supporting Guyana and Suriname, two countries in the region with significant oil and gas discoveries, with financing and technical assistance programs to support the creation of local capacity, ensuring significant local participation in the oil and gas sector. In Guyana, we are supporting local content development in the oil sector with a proposed $1 billion facility. In Suriname, we are working with the government and the state oil company to also launch a multi-billion US dollar local content support program. Our President will finance and support these programs using lessons learned across Africa and with expertise already well developed in Nigeria, Egypt, and Ghana. Your Excellencies, Honorable Prime Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, an era of declining development assistance to our economies, coupled with the exit of international banks, and the imperative to build our economies using our own resources and institutions, we must develop our own institutions that are capable of financing our development. Consequently, we are working with the CARICOM Secretariat to establish the Caribbean Exim Bank, an institution that we hope will catalyze trade and industrial development in the region, just as our President Bank has done in Africa. We provided the grant financing for the feasibility study, which is currently ongoing. We are also working with our shareholders, Caribbean Development Fund, to launch a groundbreaking initiative called the Growth, Resilience, and Sustainability Fund. The fund aims to mobilize alternative financial resources and leverage public access to finance large-scale adaptation projects in the CARICOM, addressing fiscal constraints while also fostering economic growth and climate resilience. By raising $250 million through a coalition of financial institutions, this fund will empower public sector projects that support the livelihoods of citizens and strengthen communities against climate challenges. A grant financing had already been provided to the Caribbean Development Fund to support the development work for this fund. And when the studies are completed, our President Bank and his fund, FEDA, will support the development and implementation of the strategy that we have been created. You agree with me that efficient and low-cost inter-Caribbean and Afro-Caribbean payments are vital to accelerating trade and investment in the region. In this regard, our President Bank and the central banks of the CARICOM have launched the Caribbean Payment and Settlement System, modeled after the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System promoted by our President Bank in partnership with AFCFTA Secretariat and the African Union Commission to ensure regional trade payments in local currencies. The Caribbean Payment and Settlement System will eliminate costly currency conversions, facilitate faster transaction flows, and decolonize our payment ecosystem. As we speak, a pilot is underway involving central banks from across the region. Our objective is to bring every CARICOM country into this payment ecosystem and create seamless trade financing corridors. These corridors will link African and Caribbean SMEs to larger markets, enable e-commerce integration, and lower transaction costs. As we have seen in Africa, where utilization of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System is increasing by about 1,000% period on period, we will also launch a currency trading platform here in the CARICOM, which is similar to what we've also done in Africa. We also plan to launch the Caribbean Payment and Settlement System, the CAPS card, that will enable CARICOM citizens to spend their national currencies anywhere they visit in the CARICOM. As with Africa, we can also work with the stock exchange to enable investments in multiple jurisdictions using national currencies, thereby enhancing liquidity and access to long-term financing to businesses in the region. I can assure you that the Pan-African Payment Settlement System is beginning to make massive changes on the continent. Increasingly, people are beginning to find the value. And I must thank the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, Barbados, and the Bahamas for agreeing to start the Caribbean Payment and Settlement System. We always start this initiative with the coalition of the willing. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System started with 5 countries in the West African Monetary Zone before it expanded to other parts of Africa. In the Caribbean, we already almost have half of the CARICOM states. So we see the opportunity for an accelerated growth of the system. And to support the technological advancement of our people, our President is supporting the PJ Patterson Institute for Africa Caribbean Advocacy at the University of the West Indies to establish an Africa Caribbean hub dedicated to the pioneering development of generative artificial intelligence. This initiative is not merely about technology, it is about harnessing the untapped potential of our regions, our rich natural resources, our brilliant minds, and our burgeoning digital networks. For too long, Africa and the Caribbean have been sidelined in the global narrative of technological advancements, particularly in the realm of cutting-edge artificial intelligence. As a bank, we've committed to changing this narrative, forging an ecosystem that not only stimulates economic growth, but also integrates our unique challenges and opportunities into the global technology landscape. And in the area of creatives, through the Creative Africa Nexus, CANEX, we've also made strategic investments in fashion, film, music, culinary arts, and storytelling, showcasing Caribbean talent on global stages. In that regard, we are working with Studio 327 to develop a $24 million creative training and film production program for the OECS countries. Last year, we sponsored a historic musical collaboration called One Drum, bringing together Olodu of Brazil, Stephen Marley of Jamaica, Flavor of Nigeria, Maforiza of South Africa, and other legends, reinforcing our cultural ties. We also proudly supported Caribbean designers and brands, such as The Cloth from Trinidad and Tobago, Margot Wong from Guyana, and Kenya Union, and Kevinta from Jamaica, enabling their participation in prestigious international fashion shows, including Fashion Weeks in Paris, Portugal, and Tokyo. Through the Cannes Book Factory, being implemented in partnership with Chimamanda Adichie, we have also championed an initiative to nurture Caribbean literary talents. The inaugural creative writing workshop, held in August 2024 in Aburi, Ghana, welcomed the emerging writers from St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Kitts and Nevis, nurturing new voices in global storytelling. Furthermore, through CANEX Weekend, we have also provided Caribbean chefs like Chef Natasha DeBock from Trinidad and Tobago and Chef Davisha Burrows from Barbados with opportunities to present Afro-Caribbean cuisine in some of the world's leading culinary showcases. We're also creating platforms for young professionals to exchange ideas, gain internships, and build businesses. Already, interns from Barbados, Guyana, Brazil, and Grenada have rotated through all the African Exporting Bank's offices across Africa. We encourage you to send your interns to this program. We've also expanded the program to include leading businesses in both Africa and the Caribbean, so that these young people can, with our support, intern in businesses they prefer. Your Excellencies, Honorable Prime Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, while we remain very proud of what we have achieved so far, we're also mindful that much more needs to be done. What we've done so far is prove the concept. We now need to institutionalize it. That is why I think we should consider creating a commission that becomes fully responsible for delivering on the Africa, Caribbean, and the broader Global Africa Initiative. Such a commission should be sovereign, but still supported by Afreximbank, especially in the early stages. It must also be supported by the CARICOM and the African Union. This move will give more focus and impetus to the initiative, reduce the administrative burden on Afreximbank, and create an environment for innovation so that that commission can conceive and think widely beyond even what Afreximbank can contemplate. The commission should advance the socio-cultural, creative, economic, and trade agenda of the initiative. It is such a commission that can more directly promote collaboration in education, science and technology, trade information, sports, other aspects of creative industry, and so on. Earlier this year, AfroSport, supported by Afreximbank, organized the first ever Unity Cup tournament in London. The game involved Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Ghana, and Nigeria. It was highly successful, an indication of the hunger for such events. There is no reason why an expanded Unity Cup involving many more countries cannot be organized. Today, people of African descent in both the continent and the diaspora, especially here in the Caribbean, dominate many aspects of field and track events globally. Is it not high time we thought of a Global Africa Athletics Championship or something of that sort? Why is it that in every endeavor, everywhere we turn, we are trapped? In the sports, we produce the talent, those who sweat in the field, but those who smile in air-conditioned offices with their huge bank accounts are not us. And nobody stops us from changing this. Because if you control the resources that produce the wealth, you must also control the wealth. If you do not control the wealth, then you're a fool. It will be the duty of that commission that I have in mind to push some of these initiatives through. We hope we can draw on the wisdom of our two great statesmen, His Excellency President Olusegun Obasanjo, Honorable P.J. Patterson, and George Byron, Dennis Byron, to guide us in these efforts. We also hope that the initiative can be endorsed by CARICOM and AU Commission and the AU itself at their joint summit in Addis Ababa in September 2025 to enable work towards the final establishment to commence. I also hope that when we decide to launch this initiative, that we do not launch it with lip service, that we launch it knowing that this is a platform for a collective future, a platform that we must support if we hope to turn things around for ourselves. As you all know, we have all been trapped for centuries. We are trapped by slavery when we thought we escaped slavery. We are trapped by colonialism. When we thought we escaped colonialism, we became trapped by neo-colonialism. So it is also somebody who doesn't understand his condition and who is trapped, who thinks that the person who trapped him or her will come and release him. You must fight your way out. In addition, going forward, I think we must commit and take urgent steps to establish direct air and maritime links between Africa and the Caribbean. It is inconceivable that goods and people must travel through third countries, as Wankele mentioned, and then being asked very, very embarrassing questions to reach our respective shores. We must change this. But changing this, as I said earlier, has to be deliberate and strategic. Africans must prefer global Africa in what decisions they make about businesses. Whether the business is in the Caribbean or on the continent, you prefer your own people first. That's what everybody does. In everybody's mind, we are the last. America first means Africa last. Europe first means Africa last. China first means Africa last. We are the only one who put others first, and we remain last. I think we have to change it. Because when we do, and businesses start moving, trade starts moving, maritime links will start, and air links will start. But we can play a pioneering role, find ways that the states can work with our Afrexim Bank to support those who can take the risk to start these lines, especially the air bridge. Honorable Prime Ministers, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in a few weeks, I'll be closing out my role as president of our Afrexim Bank. At the 32nd annual meeting of the bank held in Abuja a month ago, shareholders appointed my successor, Dr. George Elombi, who is here with us. I know, George, maybe if you can stand. Dr. Elombi is a long-serving member of staff of the bank, having been with us for approximately 29 years. I know that some have asked me, so when somebody takes over, will all this end? And before he was appointed, I hedged my responses. Now I can tell you it will even gain greater traction because Dr. Elombi has been a partner helping us to shape the vision that has unfolded through some of these initiatives, including the active and the work we are doing in the Caribbean. Congratulations again, George. At this critical moment in our collective history, I have no doubt that he is the right person to lead us in the next phase of the bank's journey. I am convinced that he will give the bank's work in this region a renewed impetus. Thank you, Prime Ministers, heads of state and governments, the African Union Commission, the FCFTA Secretariat, CARICOM Secretariat, the private sector, our former leaders who continue to lead us, for giving us all your support, all the support we need to make all these efforts work. I hope you continue to accord it your support, accord the bank their support under the new leadership that I just introduced. As I close, allow me to remind us that the Atlantic Ocean once carried our ancestors in chains. As we look ahead, we must now transform it from a grave of memory into a gateway of prosperity. Thank you, and may God bless the Caribbean, Africa, and the global Africa family we are forging together.
Thank you, everyone, for standing with me as we show our deepest appreciation to outgoing President, Professor Benedict Oramah. And thank you for all the work you've done for Afreximbank and, of course, the Caribbean community. And as you take this opportunity to stretch, please say hi to your neighbor. Say hi, tell them how you're doing. And I want to ask for a special, I'm not going to ask you to sing, but I'm going to ask you all on 3 to say happy birthday to Professor Benedict. He celebrated 4 days ago. So on 3, happy birthday. We're not singing, just a reminder. We're not singing, we're saying happy birthday, Professor Oramah. We got it? Y'all ready? On 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, y'all don't know how to take instruction, but it's okay. You may have your seats, everyone. And thank you again, Professor Benedict. Final round of applause for outgoing president of the Afreximbank. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for a cultural presentation by some of the most talented Grenadians entitled From Roots to Rise, the Spirit of Global Africa. A powerful, immersive performance that tells the story of a shared African and Caribbean identity, from struggle to strength, memory to movement, and history to horizon, bringing together the sweetest blend of drumming, spoken word, and Caribbean dance forms. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the stage the graceful dancers of the Conception Dance Theatre, led by Ms. Cecilia Griffith and Mr. Keith Williams, the soulful performers of the Labukan Creative Center, and the dynamic drummers of the Lion Pride Percussions.
Our tale did not begin with chains. Our tale did not begin with massa. Quite the contrary, our tale began where kings and queens reigned over a land of richness and abundance, where life was bountiful and civilization thrived, kingdoms and tribes, community. That is where we began.
They carried us far. By the thousands they came from Europe, truth flowing from their mouth, a Bible as their spiritual guide, French, Spanish, English, side by side. They journeyed to Mama Africa, and our tale became grim and dark, a defining moment in our story arc.
Home, but a distant memory. A song to remind us of Mama Africa. And even in our disparity, our paths had much similarity. Colonialism, racism, exploitation, discrimination. Our paths different and still the same. A mother can rarely feel her children's pain.
How many more must carry this load? How many more before we trot down Zion's road? How many more? Say, woyo, 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 woyo.
Fast forward, and times have more than changed. But as we embrace this new faith, one thing rings true. Our growth cannot be separated from you. Mama Africa is reaching out, beckoning her children home. This return to her seems so natural because she lives in us. She lives in our music. She lives in our dance. She lives in our food, in the way we laugh, in the way we live, in the way we give, in the way we love. They took us out of Africa, but they could never take Africa out of us.
For those of you who are listening on radio, just wish to inform you that we will be going just over the 1 o'clock cutoff time for the radio listeners. And please join us on the NDC Heartbeat online platform or on YouTube. Thank you for being part of the Heartbeat today, but we'll be continuing for a few minutes more. Thank you.
Let's give it up one more time for the Conception Dance Theatre, Labukan Creative Center, and of course the Lion Pride Percussions. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is my distinct honor to introduce a visionary leader whose commitment to national development, regional cooperation, and youth empowerment continues to inspire all of us. Since assuming office in 2022, he has championed a creative economy, digital technology, innovation, inclusive growth, and climate justice, positioning Grenada as a proactive voice in regional and global affairs. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada. Today at this historic Afro-Caribbean Forum, we celebrate not only economic ties, but ancestral truths, because true partnership begins with understanding who we are and where we come from. In a world too often divided, we are privileged to stand with a leader who understands that knowing where we come from gives us greater power in shaping where we go. It is a powerful thing when a nation's leader chooses to lead not just with policy, but with purpose, from the heart, from the heritage, and from history. In an act of unity and leadership, Prime Minister of Grenada, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, has chosen to trace his African roots through African ancestry, not just as a personal journey for himself and his family, but as a symbol of reconnection for all Grenadians and the greater diaspora. This moment reminds us we are not strangers separated by sea, but family reunited and bonded by history, heritage, and resilience. And so it is with deep pride we now prepare to reveal the lineage that connects the Prime Minister to his ancestral country, an ethnic group in Africa. Let this moment echo beyond the walls. Africa and the Caribbean are one. And so I will be the judge. I will open the envelope. In the case of Deacon Mitchell, are you ready to welcome him home? In the case of the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, it says, welcome to the African Ancestry family. African Ancestry hereby certifies that Deacon Mitchell shares maternal genetic ancestry with Akan people living in Ghana. People in the room, you say Akwaba, welcome to the Ghanaian family. All right, Prime Minister, welcome to the podium. You may now deliver your future address.
Akwaba it is. Akwaba, Akwaba, Akwaba. Your Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade, Governor General of Grenada, distinguished colleague Prime Ministers from the Caribbean and from Africa, distinguished past presidents of both Nigeria and Niger, former Prime Ministers, and in particular our former Prime Minister, the Honorable Tillman Thomas, Secretary General of CARICOM, Director General of the OECS, my brother Wam Kelly, thank you for being here, our Deputy Chairwoman of the AU, thank you for being here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you all distinguished, and permit me therefore to use this as the protocol. It is with deep honor that I say Akwaba to Grenada. We are known as the Isle of Spice, where everything is nice. We are known as Pure Grenada, where you can recharge, reboot, and renew. And we are proud to host Active 2025. We are proud to host Active 4. We are in the Caribbean, where the Atlantic meets the Caribbean Sea, where our people greet each other with warmth, with resilience. And so we open our hearts and our minds to all our guests who are with us today. We open our minds and our hearts to the partnership, to the dialogue, and to the conversation about economic prosperity, wealth creation, trade, development, and ultimately the dignity of African people everywhere. And so today, we talk not just about Africa and the Caribbean, we speak of global Africa. And global Africa means Africa and its diaspora everywhere it is. So I want to start by recognizing and paying homage to the bridge builder, by paying tribute to a man whose vision has helped make this gathering and the deeper movement it represents possible, President Benedict Oramah. He has not just talked about building bridges between Africa and the Caribbean. He has, to a large measure, single-handedly built the bridge brick by brick, with strategy, with integrity, and with relentless commitment. From trade agreements to investment forums like this one, from transportation dialogue to digital cooperation. His leadership at the Frexim Bank has carved out a space where our regions can meet, trade, collaborate, and thrive. And as Prime Minister Roosevelt said to you last evening, in the annals of history, you will go down, sir, as a pioneer for all African people everywhere. And so we thank you for leading, but not just leading, but by inviting others to lead alongside you. And so this morning, Prime Minister Skerrit suggested, and I have concurred, and I know many of the other CARICOM leaders will concur, in recommending to the CARICOM Secretariat that the CARICOM region confers upon you its highest award, the Order of the Caribbean Community. And I look forward and therefore, with the concurrence of the incoming chairman, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, I look forward to him conferring this order anew at the next sitting of the Caribbean Community in St. Kitts and Nevis. But as I'm sure President Oramah will agree with me, this bridge building is not a one-man show. The onus must be on all of us, whether we are large or small, whether we are humongous or tiny, whether we lead nations or we lead startup companies, to carry the bridge building forward. We must commit collectively and individually to continuously closing the gap between our two regions, not just geographically, not just diplomatically, not just in spirit. We must do so commercially, practically, with systems and with institutions. And I say this because President Oramah remarked in his speech, and he said so last night, there's no point to being famous but poor. There's no point to political independence and poverty. There's no point to music and dance and theater but no food, no energy, no healthcare, no education, no infrastructure. So for far too long, we have focused on political independence, on sovereignty, on borders, on parliaments, on governance, on the judiciary, but not on business, not on wealth, not on our economies, not on the protection and the dignity of our people. So a young man, a friend of my son, who's volunteering as an usher at this conference, asked me yesterday, why am I bringing this conference to Grenada? And so I will not speak in usual diplomatic political language about geopolitical tensions and fragmentation. I will speak as the layman speak. It is about money. It is about business. It is about trade. It is about investment. Because as painful as it is for us to accept, the dichotomy shown on the screen by the picture that represented our ancestors being traded from Africa to the Caribbean, and the container ship that shows goods being traded to and from Africa and the Caribbean is making the same point. It is about trade. And so, to that young man, we are bringing the conference to Grenada. It is the fourth. The first started by President Oramah and our dear sister and global leader, the Honorable Mia Amor Motley of Barbados, 4 years ago, and continued then successively by our dear brother, President Ali, and the Honorable Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Prime Minister Davis, because we all recognize that we must institutionalize, resource, and support forums like Active to ensure that that young man who spoke to me yesterday understands that the very survival, prosperity, and dignity of him and his peers depends on the economic decisions we make today about the need to foster closer economic and trading ties between Africa and its diaspora. So it means, for his benefit and his generation, that the longing of admiring Africa and Caribbean and the Caribbean from afar was put to an end by President Oramah. The time for admiration, emotion, and aspiration was turned into actualization, into action, into investment, into financing, and into impact. And what does that impact look like? And repetition is good, because we've heard it from all our speakers. It looks like direct shipping routes connecting African and Caribbean ports and lifting visa restrictions. And we may doubt whether this will happen. I'm sure 4 years ago, many doubted whether we would have an Active. I'm sure 4 years ago, many doubted whether the Afrexim Bank would have been financing over $3.5 billion to Caribbean businesses. I'm sure many doubted whether the Afrexim Bank would be building its Caribbean headquarters in Bridgetown, Barbados. But in the span of under 4 years, it is all happening. And so too, the shipping lines between Africa, the Caribbean, Central and South America, and the airlines can, and if I have anything to do with it, must and will happen. So too, harmonize trade standards that allow our goods and services to move freely. It looks like digital marketplaces that enable our artisans, our creatives, our small and medium enterprises to sell, scale, and succeed. It looks like youth exchange programs already started by Afrexim Bank, already started by Dangote Industries, that allows young men and women from the Caribbean the opportunity to go to Egypt or Nigeria to share, to learn, and to experience, and to change their mindsets about how Africa businesses are viewed. It looks like co-investing in agriculture, manufacturing, fintech, and clean energy, where we are not competitors, but co-creators. We must not forget that Africa and the Caribbean face many of the same existential challenges. Climate change. Brothers and sisters, on the 1st of July last year, 2 days before we were supposed to host the CARICOM conference in Grenada, a Category 4 hurricane called Beryl ravaged the Caribbean. It destroyed almost everything in our sister islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. It did considerable damage to the coast, and in particular the fishing industry in Barbados. And with raging appetite, headed to Jamaica and continued its destruction there, particularly in the agriculture sector, all in a matter of 48 hours. But you know what? With the support of our partners, with the support of our colleagues in CARICOM, with the support of the Afrexim Band, whose regional representative flew down to Grenada and flew with me to Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and who, through the guidance of President Oramah, provided direct financial assistance in the form of a grant to the government and people of Grenada, we were able to still host our CARICOM Heads of Conference meeting in July, right here in this very room. And so 1 year later, we are here hosting Active. It could have been easy to say, we're a small island. We don't have the capacity or the capability. But, and as you heard from the former Vice President of Nigeria, size is not the determinant of your destiny. Size is not the determinant of your importance. And if we take our body parts as any indication, the smallest parts of our body, our eyes, our ears, our mouth, our nose, are perhaps the most crucial and pivotal for the functioning of our large organs. And so, yes, the small size of the Caribbean does not in any way take away from its pivotal and strategic importance to global trade. It was pivotal when our ancestors were brought across the Atlantic in slave trading vessels. And it is even more pivotal now to the growth and development of global Africa. And so we possess common strength in our people, in our culture that was so vividly on display, and in our enduring spirit. If we can unite on trade, we can unite on advocacy. If we can unite on common trade standards, we can share strategies. If we can move capital and finance, we can move mindsets. So as we look to deepen our economic ties, we must also embrace the reality that the future of trade, entrepreneurship, and development will largely be driven by digital technologies. And so in my capacity as CARICOM lead head for science and technology and ICT, I cannot understate the urgency and the importance of technology in reshaping all our lives within global Africa. It is redefining how we trade, how we govern, and how we must build prosperity. Africa and the Caribbean are both blessed with a young, talented, and entrepreneurial population. Africa's advancement in mobile technology, fintech, and ICT infrastructure, when paired with the Caribbean's digital creativity, tourism, and innovation, presents a real and immediate opportunity for collaboration and sustained growth. So in Grenada, we are moving with two flagship initiatives that will speak to the heart of this digital transformation. I proposed yesterday to President Oramah the Caribbean Institute for Digital and Creative Industries, which we propose will be a world-class innovation, training, research institution dedicated to empowering our region's creatives, technologists, and entrepreneurs. We do not see this as a project, but as a platform to develop talent, preserve culture, and assert our digital and cultural sovereignty. With the bank's partnership, with the partnership of our businessmen and women, our creatives, we can make a regional lighthouse for global digital excellence. Second, we often forget the foundational importance of financial literacy. Throughout Africa and throughout the Caribbean, financial literacy ranks amongst the lowest. It is therefore essential that as we host initiatives like Active, that we take the time and we put the resources to ensure that we educate our young men and women in financial literacy. And so in Grenada, we aim, and we have already started, to equip, at least over the next 2 years, all our young men and women with the tools necessary to make sure that they understand financial literacy, that they possess the financial skills for the digital age. From budgeting and credit to digital banking and entrepreneurship, we will roll out a program that we believe can be a blueprint for global Africa in ensuring that the next generation of global African citizens are well equipped to function, succeed in a digital financial world. We intend to deliver this through a mobile-first platform accessible to all global Africans. So we invite the bank, its partners, the business leaders, the entrepreneurs, our central banks, our development banks, to recognize the critical role that financial literacy can and should play in ensuring that we build business leaders, entrepreneurs, creatives, to ensure we function successfully in a digital economy that is inclusive, resilient, and Afro-Caribbean designed for our people. In this journey, the bank has not just been a financier. It has been and will continue to be a partner in delivering progress, a catalyst for systems change, a vehicle for South-South solidarity. So we welcome and support the bank's continued efforts to expand trade credit, seed innovation, and champion economic sovereignty for global Africa. But we must all do our part. And therefore, we welcome and will support the creation of a Global Africa Commission, resourced and institutionalized, to support the many initiatives that global Africans require. And the example of the Global Africa Track and Field event is one such example that I'm sure all CARICOM countries will be vying to host. I've already put up Grenada's hand to do so. But since we expect it to be successful and not a one-off, we look forward to all our CARICOM brothers and sisters hosting our African brothers and sisters in such a championship. We look forward to our CARICOM citizens visiting many of the African states to take part and to support and to cheer on such an initiative. And I stop here to indicate that it is revolutionary ideas like these that will excite our young people. When we leave this forum, we must be able to explain to that young man what is the outcome of all this fuss and sirens and blocking of the roads. He must know that him or his friend or his cousin is going to one day have the opportunity to take part in the Global Africa Track and Field event, whether in Kigali or Bridgetown, or NASA, or Abuja. Because for far too long, many of our entertainers and creatives have become famous but poor. Well-known but economically weak. And so we owe it to our young men and women to ensure that we let them know that there is a warfare going on out there. It is economic warfare. There are fancy economic terms for calling it: protectionism, tariffs, increased cost of visas, etc., etc. It is about me first, and as Professor Oramah said, someone else last. So no one is going to save global Africa but global Africa itself. And so to that young man, I conclude by saying, and I speak on behalf of all of the leaders of CARICOM, that our political will to support global Africa is unwavering. That we recognize that we are in a seminal moment, but that we are not starting from scratch. We are starting from strength. The history we share together is not a weight, it is a wind behind our sails. So we are not going to leave this forum with just another communique. We will leave with a compact, a commitment to act, to implement, and to transform. We will prove that when Africa and its diaspora trade together, do business together, we will succeed together, and we will rise together. I welcome you to St. George's, Grenada. I welcome you to Global Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being part of the Heartbeat today, and join us again next Sunday when we have other equally stimulating and interesting programs to share with you. Have a great Sunday afternoon. Goodbye.